So how are you adjusting to the adjuster role, so to speak? Is there not really much of an adjustment? Because you're more of an in-the-box safety last year. I know the adjuster was more of a free safety. Just how has that adjustment been for you, Ronnie?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, you play safety. You've been in that free position before. You've been in the boundary, so it's not like I haven't been there. It's just more so getting more familiar with it and really just getting comfortable in it. It is new, but I wouldn't say it's too much of adjusting going on.
I know there's a lot that goes into a Jim Knowles defense. How would you describe it? How would you kind of just put it in your own words? What a Jim Knowles defense is?
He wants to make it as simple as possible. Still, being able to offset the offense and combat what they want to do. But he wants us to be able to play fast. That's one of his biggest things. He wants us to play fast. And by doing that, you got to know the offense and you got to know what to look at. He wants us to look at the right things. And by doing that, it allows us to play faster and make plays. We're athletes at the end of the day, and he knows that. So he wants us to use our athletic ability to go make those plays.
Hey, Ronnie, thanks for coming here to Indy today.
Thank
We got
you.
all positive questions, just like the positive picture.
All right.
What's it like? You played on the other side of the ball in high school. You played lacrosse. How do some of those skills translate to you right now in college? Because obviously you kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, being an athlete, as far as playing lacrosse and stuff like that, playing different sports only helps you. For me, lacrosse was, it was a lot of running. So I was able to get my conditioning up and stuff like that. And a lot of footwork is involved with lacrosse. So for me to be able to use that and then bring it into my football side has helped tremendously.
Last question. What is something you've seen this summer about yourself or some teammate that's kind of jumped out at you and said, man, we're ready for the season? Maybe even something on yourself and think, man, we're ready for the season to get started.
I would say just how much we're holding each other accountable. The best teams aren't coach-led, they're player-led. So I think it starts with us, with the leaders, and then it trickles down from there. But this season, is the accountability level and stuff like that is probably been at an all-time high. So we're huge on that, and that's the football stuff will take care of itself. But it starts with stuff like that.
Ron, Coach Day keeps using the word edge. You guys had edge during the offseason. How much of that was necessary? You guys took some heat last year for being getting pushed around a little bit. Did that get under your skin? Did that bother you? And is that part of what's going on with this offseason?
Of course, I'd be lying if I said it didn't get under our skin. We see the stuff that's been said. We see the articles and stuff like that. But, we can't dwell on the past. We know what mistakes we had. We know what we need to do to correct them, and that's what we've been working on all offseason.
How do you become tougher? Is it a mindset?
Put yourself in tough situations.
Like what? Do you have anything?
Coach Mick.
Ryan Day said he expects you guys to be a top 10 defense this year. Do you have that same expectation?
Yes, sir.
What makes you believe that's possible?
The guys in that locker room. One of the biggest things for me is I know the experience that we have. I know a lot of times last year, this was the first, for me even, it was my first time out there. And for many of the other guys, it was the same kind of thing in their case. So as far as the D-line, the linebacker room, and even the secondary, we got more experience. We know what it's like to be out there. We know what it's loud and third downs and stuff like that. And that'll just help us.
How much do you think that your guys' youth last year did play into the struggles that you had?
It definitely played a role. I'm not making any excuses for it because it's not an excuse. But like I said, we can only use that to help us in the future.
Getting Josh Proctor back. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Couldn't even hear him.
You're supposed to get him.
Good job. What do you prefer, by the way, still?
Rocket for sure, but I go by both, but it doesn't matter.
Coach Day was talking about leadership all the time. You just kind of mentioned it. How much of that was just a function of how young you guys were last year, and you were trying to find your way as individual players? You couldn't provide leadership, you were trying to figure it out yourself. Where's the leadership now compared to them?
Yeah, that's a huge point. It's hard to lead others when you're trying to get a grasp of things yourself because it's the first time for you. So that definitely has played a role into it. But like I said before, experience now, guys know what it's like to be out there when it's bad. When your own fans are booing you and stuff like that. Like that stuff sticks with you. So you just use that and you use it to better yourself for the next situation you get in.
Michigan players were talking yesterday that special announcement on the line. They talk about how they expected what happened in the trenches, what happened last year. How much is that? On the line. You on that defense. How much is that out of you? How determined are you guys to say, show this year that happened?
What they expect is what they expect. Nothing towards that, but we respect the rivalry. So we put in the work every day regardless. We have 3 goals. Let's beat the team up north being the first one. So we put in the work for that every day.
Getting Josh Proctor back, how much is that going to help you guys, you think?
It's huge. Josh Parker's probably one of the hardest hitting safeties I've been around. So just having that mentality, like that edge that he brings to the defensive side is huge. I can't wait to see what he does.
You guys went from really young back there to really veteran in 1 year. You're now a fourth-year guy. You got Tanner coming in. He's a fifth-year guy. Josh is a fifth-year guy. You guys are really young now. You guys are very veteran. Speak on that a little bit, if you would.
I touched on it earlier a little bit. Experience is huge. Knowing what to expect, knowing how it is, and what a thing is going to be like. We can watch film differently, because not only have we been in it, but we understand what's going on. And I think T-Mac, I call him T-Mac, it's Tanner McAllister, but T-Mac is doing a great job just helping us with stuff from Coach Knowles and explaining it from a player to player instead of from a coach to a player side.
We've asked you a lot about Coach Knowles. What about the two new DB coaches with Perry Eliano and Tim Walton? Give us some insights on those guys.
I love those guys, man. Those guys bring nothing but great energy, man. Those guys are always turned. Coach E, I'm more with Coach E specifically because he's a safety coach, but I love Coach E, man. He talks about the details a lot, unseen work, the unrequired hours. He knows what it takes. So I'm like a sponge to those guys, man. Those guys have put a lot of years in, and they got a lot of wisdom to give out.
Another coaching question here. With tackling, are there any differences from last year to this year with the Knowles defense and how you've seen him coach and seen him teach tackling to you guys?
Yes. The only difference is he just doesn't like live tackling in practice. He believes that you can still get better at tackling without actually going live with someone, obviously to prevent injuries, which is fine. That's pretty much the only difference.
What stood out to you on board, you and Josh?
I mean, we're taught to learn all the positions. We on a Saturday, you never know who's going to play. Injuries happen, things happen. So as a safety, you got to know all three of those positions. The only position probably except corner, but as far as the three positions, we're all taught to really learn all three. Lathan's doing great. He's back healthy. I wish you guys could have seen his picture. We just got down in the weight room. He's back to looking like normal Lathan. He's moving like him. So I'm excited for him as well.
What stood out to you about the two Notre Dame quarterbacks and whatever film work you've done so far?
They do what they do well. They don't do a whole lot that's gonna confuse or anything like that, but they do what they do well. They listen to their coach, their offensive coordinator. He calls great plays, and they just play their strengths well.
The fact that either of them would be making their first college start, Buckner or Pine, how does that play into your benefit as an experience?
It really just depends on how well they're coached and how we're. I guess they'll gain the experience by playing us, but I'm expecting a good quarterback. I respect the Notre Dame team. So.
What are the differences that you've seen so far at Buckner versus Pine? One more mobile than the other, you think?
Possibly. I don't have a rundown of their differences, though.
Have you watched much of it?
Yeah, but I haven't compared the two quarterbacks.
I know they had a different quarterback last year, and I know Jim Knowles wasn't coaching in the game, but have you guys watched the Oklahoma State versus Notre Dame film a lot since that was his defense still, even though he wasn't coaching?
I remember me and T-Mac, we just throw that game on just to watch it because, one, he can kind of just talk me through it, see what he was seeing and what was actually going on. And I ask him all the time, like, what was it like and stuff like that. So he's been huge on helping me with stuff like that.
Ronnie, you guys have the potential to have 6 safeties out there, rotating positions, whether that's Court and Cam and Lathan or you starting 3. How much of an advantage is that for you guys to know that those other 3 are just as good as the guys out there starting?
It's huge. And it's a long season. You never know who's going to end up playing week 13, week 11, week 10 or whatever. So just to know that you have that depth and that when you have the people that are coming in, but that those are dogs too. Those are great players who are going to, keep the standard at what it is. So it's huge to have those guys behind you.
I've heard a few different people describe Cam as somebody who could really take that step this season. Have you seen that from Cam Martinez, and what are you really looking forward to seeing from him when his training camp starts?
Yeah, the sky's the limit for Cam. Cam knows this. I'm with him pretty much every day. But Cam is one of the most detailed guys I know when it comes to taking notes, watching film, how he corrects himself, how he watches himself. So Cam knows what he's going to do, and I'm excited for him, and the other guys know as well.
What about Kai? Because Kai kind of took us all by surprise in the spring. Are you surprised by how quickly he picked things up and was able to make an impact?
I wouldn't say, I guess you could say a surprise, but I just didn't know too much about him. But when spring game came, I quickly realized, he had a knack for just making a play or just being around the ball some way, somehow, whether that's making a tackle or a PBU or something like that. So I'm excited for Kai too.
Just in general, Ryan Day said 11-2 with Rose Bowl wins, great season for a lot of people, but not for you guys, especially losing the league last year. How much of a chip is there on your shoulder? How not that you were complacent, but how much hunger is that giving you for this year?
Yeah, I would say hunger is kind of an understatement. We know what happened last year. We know the mistakes we made. We know what we have to do to correct them. And we're eager to prove to everyone that we've been putting in the work, and we're prepared.
How much does the Eastern game still apply?
I mean, that rivalry is the rivalry it's always been. So we're going to wake up feeling the same way regardless. We put in the work because we respect the rivalry and we respect that team. So the work's going to get put in regardless of what happened last year.
Hey, Ronnie, can you talk about some of the corners on your team? We saw Denzel start last year and Cam Brown coming back as starters, but we're hearing Jordan Hancock might be a guy on the rise. Maybe talk about some of the corners and who you think can really help this year.
Yeah, two young guys, Jordan Hancock and J.K. Those two guys, they bring the juice, they bring the energy. If for some reason, practice down, they'll quickly get us back up with a pick or a PBU or something like that, man. I just love those two because they're very competitive. They're very eager to just jump right up with Jackson, Marv, they don't care. And not only do they get up right there, but they compete as well. They make their own plays as well. So that just shows you that they're ready because if you can do it against those guys, you can do it against anyone in college football.
Yeah, you mentioned Marvin. We saw him in the Rose Bowl with the breakout performance. We're hearing he's having a great offseason. Is that what you're seeing out of Marvin too?
Yeah, so with Marvin, we're in the same squad, so we live together a lot. And whenever we do our sprints, I always run next to him because he always brings the fastest version of me because I'm not faster than him, but I know if I'm next to him, I'm going to try to beat him. So I always make sure I'm running next to Marv just so he can bring the best out of me.
Ronnie, can you talk about some of these squads or the different groups? Coach Day was talking about how with the leadership you guys are mixing it up. It's not just in your position group or that kind of thing. Can you just take us inside that a little bit and explain maybe what the benefits of that are?
Yeah, so we have a few squads on the team with a set of, I believe, 3 to 4 leaders on each squad. It just gives us a chance to the squads are all different. We pick the squads, but different positions, different. Everyone has to be different. So it allows us to become closer with someone who you might not have been closer with, because it's easy for guys to just be with the DBs. It's easy for receivers to be with the receivers and kind of just be in your position group. It allows us to reach out and expand our team chemistry and our brotherhood.
When your coach said it would take $13 million from NIL dollars to help keep the roster intact, how did that come across to you as a player, knowing that you put that call to action out there for the fans and the donors?
It's huge to know that your coach is your coach is behind you and the trend that college football is going in. I think it's great that college athletes are being able to make money off their name and image after so long not being able to.
Do you know where that number came from? It wasn't 10, it wasn't 15.
I don't. Nah, I don't.
Following up with John's question on leadership in the squad, how does it work? I know you have maybe looking for a half of wide receiver. How does it work?
I mean, there's a few squads on the team, and you just work out with that squad, that's your group. I mean, we obviously work out all together, but if something happens and if someone in your squad is late or something like that, then your squad gets specifically penalized and stuff like that. So it allows you to instill discipline and stuff like that in each squad and stuff like that. I believe we changed it in the winter. It was less. I want to say 12, 15 maybe. I don't know the exact number.
Ronnie, not for the sake of the squads, but for yourself as a leader, is it easier to be just the leader of the safeties than it is to be the leader of guys that might play offense? And if it is, then does it put you out of your comfort zone, kind of help you become a better leader on your own?
I mean, if you're picking and choosing who you want to be a leader to, then you can't really call yourself a leader, honestly. So if you want to put that title over your head and say you're a leader, you got to be a leader to everyone in that locker room.
Do you feel like you've become that?
I try to lead in any way as possible. If guys come to me for anything, I'm there for them. I'm always down to help out people under me because that's what the people did to me when I was younger.